Good morning, students. Today, the topic which we are going to discuss is National Policy of Education 1986. The learning objectives of today's topic are introduction. You will able to know what is National Educational Policy 1986, background need of this policy, challenges of education. What are the different challenges of education? Priorities. What are the different priorities set by the National Education Policy 1986? Silent features of National Policy of Education 1986. Goals of NPE, objectives of NPE, recommendations of NPE, merits of NPE 1986, reorganization of education at different stages, evaluation process and examination as per NPE 1986. Now, the introduction, the National Education Policy (NPE) is a policy formulated by the Government of India to promote education among Indian people. Now, why National Policy on Education (NP) is formulated? It is formulated so that it can promote education among Indian people, and this policy was formulated by Government of India. The policy covers elementary education to colleges in both rural and urban India. And this policy covers education from the elementary level to the college level at both rural and urban India. The first NPE, National Policy on Education, was promulgated in 1968 by the government of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Means the first NPE was promulgated by Government of India and by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and second by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986, and the second NPE was given by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986. Background need. What is the need for NPE? There was an urgent need to solve the problems of access, quality, quantity, utility, and financial outlay. Means there is an urgent need to solve the problems of access, how number of students can access to the education, the quality education so that every child should get a qualitative education, quantity, maximum number can be given the education, utility, and financial outlet accumulated over the years, which were massive in proportions. The journal formulation incorporates in the 1968 policy did not get translated into detailed study of implementation. The former Prime Minister of India, Sri Rajiv Gandhi, announced in January 1985 that a new education policy would be formulated in the country. In 1985, our Prime Minister Sri Rajiv Gandhi announced that a new education policy would be formulated in our country. Enhancement of percentage of literacy. The need of that education policy is that so that it can enhance the percentage of literacy of our country. Modernization of curriculum and improvement of examination system. It should work on modernization of curriculum and improvement of examination system, means how the examination system can be improved. Removal of wastage and stagnation in education. It should work in the area so that we can remove wastage and stagnation in education. Implementation of free and compulsory education. With this policy, we should be able to implement free and compulsory education. Checking of brain drain. Qualitative development of education. It should focus on the qualitative development in the area of education. Challenges of education. A policy perspective was issued by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. The policy perspective were issued by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. Countrywide debate on educational reforms and debates were organized throughout the country on educational reforms, how the reforms should be implemented or what type of reforms should be implemented in the field of education. The new policy on education 1986 approved by Parliament in May 1986, and that new policy on education was approved by Parliament in May 1986. The educational policy was divided into 12 parts, means the National Policy on Education 1986 was divided into 12 parts. The first one is Declaration, the essence and role of education, national system of education, education for equality, and reorganization of education at different stages. Challenges of education, technical and management education, making the system work, reorienting the content and process of education, teacher, the management of education, resources and review, and the last one, the future. Now, the priority areas of our policy 1986 means NPE 1986, universalizing elementary education so that every child should get the elementary education up to the elementary education. Advising free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14 years. And that policy works to give free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14 years. Emphasizing gender perspective in all aspects of planning, and it's emphasized gender perspective on all aspects of planning. Sanitizing the minds for furthering the goals of socialism, secularism, and democracy, and it should synthesize the minds of our children for furthering the goals of socialism, secularism, and democracy, fostering research and development to ensure self reliance in technology, and it is fostering research and development so that it should ensure self reliance in technology. Re emphasis the place of common core curriculum with regard to India's common cultural heritage, egalitarianism, protection of environment, removal of social vice, small family norms, and inculcation of scientific temper. Now, silent features of National Policy of Education 1986. Common educational structure 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure is being recommended. National curricular framework with the common core will include the history of Indian freedom movement. It should include how India got independent. The constitutional obligations. What are the constitutional obligations? Other content essential to nurture national identity, national curricular framework with a common core, minimum level of learning, priorities of educational reforms, meaningful partnership, talent features, removal of disparities to equalize educational opportunities for those who have been denied from equality means to give equal opportunity to everyone in the field of education. Empowerment of women through education, through provision, vocation means it is focusing on the empowerment of women, and empowerment of women through education, through provisional vocational education, technical education, and professional education at different levels for the women. Education of scheduled caste by providing incentives to poor families to send their children school regularly till the age of 14 years, and it should focus or has given emphasis for the education of scheduled caste by providing incentives, means incentives will be provided to poor families so that they can send their children school regularly till they attain the age of 14 years. Pre-matric scholarship schemes were introduced, recruitment of teachers from scheduled caste, and the teachers will be recruited from scheduled castes. Opening of special schools with hostel facility at district headquarters for handicap, and there is a provision for opening of a special school where the children with special needs can be studied. And not only the schools are open, the schools are also opening with the hostel facilities so that they can live there and have their studies, and these special schools will be opened at district headquarters. Adequate arrangement will be made to give them vocational training, and the children with special need will be given vocational training also. Additional or adequate arrangements were made in that field, in these schools also. Reorientations of teachers training program to deal with special difficulties of handicapped children means we have to reorient the teachers training program in such a way that they can also teach the children with special needs. For adults, centers for continuing education in rural areas will be opened, and it will focus on opening centers in rural areas for that adults can go there and have their education. Workers' education through employers, trade unions, and concerned agencies will work in educating their employers. Goals of NPE: education for all means no one will be denied education. To universalize elementary education, that every individual who will uh, get elementary education, to prevent the possibility of adult illiteracy in the years by reducing the dropouts in the school, by reducing the number of dropouts in the school, to accelerate non-formal education and make education reach the remotest corner of the country means every individual will be given education, no one can be denied education. Scientific and technological development, strengthen educational TV, ETV, and audio program capabilities and provide a wider access to them so that through these educational TV audio program so that everyone can access to the education. To improve science education in school, and the other goal of NP is that they want to improve the science education in school. promote rural technology and appropriate technology to achieve economic development. It should work on promoting the rural technology and appropriate technology so that economic development can be made. Develop scientific temper, equip students and teachers with the range of computer applications. To equip students and teachers with the range of computer applications and its potential as a learning medium. Social and cultural development, so that social and cultural development can be made. To create awareness regarding our cultural heritage, to develop appreciation of diverse cultures of our country, so that students will develop appreciation of diverse culture that are present in our country, to develop appreciation of the achievement of our national leaders, and they should able to develop appreciation of achievements of our national leaders, to promote values of national integration, secularism, to remove barriers between various age groups. It should work on removing the barriers among the various age groups. Diverse culture, different culture that are prevailing in our country. Socio-economic groups, different socio-economic groups that are present, and urban and rural community to provide equal opportunities to all communities for education and to provide equal opportunities to all communities for education, to foster universal and eternal values oriented towards the integration of our country, to provide development of Indian languages, to promote racial outlook, to foster universities uh, and internal values among oriented toward the integration of a country. Uh, Internal values that are needed for the integration of a country. To provide development of Indian languages, and it should focus or should give emphasis or provide opportunities or giving opportunities so that development of Indian languages can be done. To promote racial outlook. Human Resource Development HRD, to create awareness in all, to create awareness about citizens' ability, the rapid increasing level of rate of population growth, pollution, and the hazards of environment, to develop a sense of, to develop healthy responsibility and individual capable of commitment among the contributing to the social individuals to the problems and economic of nation development, to make provisions for facilitating the basic minimum needs means it should focus on providing facilitation for the basic minimum needs and have the maximum level of learning at all stages, and so that every student will have a maximum level of learning at all the stages. Develop social and vocational skills. Our education should focus on developing social and vocational skills among the learners. Provide a broad-based skill, and it should work on providing a broad-based skill. Orienting vocational training, and it should focus on orienting vocational training for the learner. To develop positive attitude to work, and it should able to develop positive attitude towards work. They will develop a positive attitude to work. Cooperative activity means it should focus on developing cooperative activities among each and to l- lifelong learning, and it should also enhance them that learning is a lifelong process. And work culture has to be developed to have a dedicated, committed workforce, and a work culture should has to be developed in such a way that to have a dedicated, committed workforce. Equalization of opportunities means everyone should be given an equal opportunity. Equal opportunities to be given scheduled caste and tribes, backward classes and minorities. Means the equal opportunities should be given to every individual, despite whether the individual is from scheduled caste or from scheduled tribe, backward class or from minority. The handicap to be provided facilities for special institutions, empowerment of women. And when we are talking about the children with special needs, it should provide facilities for special institutions. Means these children should have special institutions, and it should work on empowerment of women. Now, objectives of NPE. Education is the unique investment on the present and the future. It is saying that education is the unique investment on the present and the future also. The main thrust of this policy is the man and his preparation to face the 21st century. The main focus area of this policy is that man to prepare a man so that he can face the 21st century. The concept of national system of education implies that up to given level all students, irrespective of caste, creed, sex, etc., have access to education of a comparable quality. Means no discrimination should be there, and all these groups should be accessible to education, and it should be of a qualitative education. The national system of education will be based on a national curriculum framework. Means the national system of education should be based on the national curricular framework to motivate the younger generation for international cooperation and peaceful coexistence, to encourage the young to undertake the discovery of India, and they should work in undertaking the discovery of India, its image and perception, to establish network arrangements between different institutions in the country, to provide opportunities to the youth. Means it should give opportunities to the youth, housewives and industrial workers, etc., to continue the education of their choice. Means so that they can continue the education in which type of education they want at the pace suited to them. Means at a particular place that is suited to them, that I want to get the education at that particular pace. The union government would accept a large integrative character of education to integrate physically and mentally and handicap with the general community as equal partners. Now, recommendations of NPE. Reorganization of education for the of education at equality different stages. Means it should reorganize the education system in such a way that education should work at equality at different stages. Recommendation of on education for equality, disparity education for women, equality education of scheduled caste, education of scheduled tribe. Means it should be such that it should give education to scheduled tribe, other educationally backward sections and areas, minorities, handicapped, adult education. Reorganization of education at different stages: early childhood and education, elementary education, school facilities, non formal education, a resolved secondary education and Narvodaya Vidyalayas. Reorganization of education at different stages, vocationalization of education, higher education, open universities, and distance learning, technical and management education, delinking degrees from job review. Reorganization of education at different stages, early childhood care and education, ECCE, reorganizing the holistic nature of child development, nutrition, health, social, mental, physical, moral, and emotional development means it should be reorganized. The early childhood care and education should be reorganized on the basis of the holistic nature of child development and should work in the area of nutrition, health, social, mental, physical, moral, and emotional development. Programs of early childhood care and education will be child oriented, means child should be in the focused. Focused around play, set their own pace, means it should focus or give importance around play, set their own pace how they want to learn, and be given supplementary remedial instructions and be given supplementary remedial instructions. The policy of non detention at primary stage will be retained. Secondary education. Secondary education began to expose students to the differentiate role of science, humanities, and social science. Means the secondary education should begin to expose students to the differentiate role of different streams, science, humanities, and social sciences. This also give opportunity to students to understand their constitutional duties and rights as citizen. What are their duties and what are their rights as understand according to the constitution, they have to understand their constitutional duties. Gifted children should be provided opportunity to proceed at faster pace. Means gifted children should be provided opportunity so that they can learn at a faster pace by giving good quality education irrespective of their capability to pay for it. And we should give them the good quality education irrespective whether they are capable of paying that education or not. Secondary education territory level courses will be organized for young graduates for higher secondary level. Non-formal, flexible, and needs-based vocational program will also be made available to neo-literate schools dropouts, partially employed persons, and women. It is proposed that vocational courses cover 10% of higher secondary students by 1990 and 25% by 1995. Pace setting schools should be established with full scope for innovation and experimentation to provide opportunities to talented children. The introduction of vocational education should be systematic, well planned to reduce the mismatch between demand and supply of skilled manpower. Now, higher education. Higher education provides people with an opportunity to reflect on the critical, socio cultural, moral, and spiritual issues facing humanity. Means higher education should provide people with an opportunity so that they can reflect on the critical, social, cultural, moral, and spiritual issues. There are 150 universities and 5,000 colleges in India today. It is proposed that in the near future, main emphasis will be given on the expansion of existing institutions. Mean the main or the primary focus of NPE is to expand the existing institutions. Urgent step will be taken to protect the system from degradation and urgent steps will be taken so that we can protect this education system from degradation. Autonomy and freedom of colleges and universities will be accompanied by accountability. A major effect will be directed towards the transformation of teaching method. Means a transformation of teaching method should be there. Audio-visual aids and electronic equipments will be introduced. The use of audio-visual aids and electronic computer equipments will be introduced. Development of science. It should work on the development of science and technology. Curricula and material research and teacher orientation will receive attention. Efforts will be made to develop Indian ancient fund of knowledge, that is Sanskrit and other classical languages. Means efforts will be made so that uh, we can develop Sanskrit and other classical languages of India. Rural university will be developed on the lines of Mahatma Gandhi revolutionary idea of education. Means it focuses on developing the rural university and it will be developed on the lines of the ideas, the revolutionary ideas of education given by Mahatma Gandhi. The open university system will be argumented as an instrument of democratizing education. IGNU will be strengthened. Delinking degrees from job in selected areas will be started. Making the system work. The country has placed boundless trust in education system. The first task is to make it work. Now teachers will have greater responsibility and accountability. Provision of improved student services. Provision of better facilities to institutions. Value education. The growing concern over the erosion of values has brought to focus the need for readjustment in the curriculum so that social and moral values will be cultivated among the student. In our culturally plural society, education should foster universal evaluation process and examination should be employed to bring about qualitative improvement in education. It should be uh, such that a reform should be made in the examination system so that qualitative improvement in education can be achieved. It should discourage memorization. It should discourage memorization among the students. There should be continuous and comprehensive evaluation. It is focusing on CCE, which incorporates both scholastic and non-scholastic aspects of education. Effective use of evaluation process. The teacher should have freedom to innovate and work independently. Means it has given freedom to the teacher so that they can work independently. The method of recruiting. Teachers should be reorganized to ensure merit and objectivity. Means the requirement of the teachers should be on the basis of the merits and objectivity. Efforts will be made for uniform emoluments, service condition, and grievance removal mechanism for teachers throughout the country. Guidelines will be formulated to ensure objectivity in the posting and transfer of teachers. Teacher association must play a significant role in enhancing the dignity of the teachers and in curbing professional misconduct. Now, merits of NPE 86. Deep concerns had been shown by the Prime Minister in formulation of NPE. Means deep concern was given by the Prime Minister in the formulation of the policy. The nationwide debate was conducted for the formulation of the policy. Means nationwide debates were conducted so that we can formulate that policy. The program of action was checked out. The POA was shut down. The Ministry of Education was renamed as Ministry of Human Resource Development. The policy believes in decentralization. Equality of educational opportunities means everyone should be given equal opportunities to course education. Vocational and technical education has received a higher priority means the main focus area of this policy is on the vocational and technical education. The policy emphasizes recruitment of teachers on merits improvement, and the policy has given emphasis that teachers should be recruited on the merit improvement. Now, limitations of NPE. Neglecting the neighborhood school concept. Let's neglect the neighborhood school concept. Multiplication of authorities. No place for basic education. It has given no place for the basic education. Silence over the existence of public schools and their commercialization, and their silence over the existence of public schools and their commercialization. Financial implication of the implementation of educational reforms have not been worked out. So, students, today we have discussed about the National Policy of Education 1986. For further reading on this topic, you can refer these references. Now, let us discuss some MCQs, as MCQs are the best tools to know the learning outcomes of the learner or how much they have understood or learned that particular concept. Now, the first one, the National Policy on Education (NPE) is a policy formulated by the Dash to promote education among Indian people. Now, who has formulated the National Policy on Education? Now, the options are A. Government of India, B. Government of America, C. Government of British, or it's D. Government of Rajasthan. So, the correct answer is option A, that is National Policy of Education. NPA is formulated by Government of India. In the Indian context, most appropriate stage for vocational guidance is. Now the options are kindergarten stage, B elementary stage, C secondary stage, or it's D senior secondary stage. So these are the options, students. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be option A, that is kindergarten stage. Now the third one, the first NPE was promulgated in 1968 by the government of Dash. Now the options are A. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, B. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, C. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, or it's D. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. So the correct answer is option A, that is Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. The second NPE was promulgated in 1986 by the government of. Options are A. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, B. Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, C. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, or it's D. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. So the correct answer is option B, that is Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. Now the next one, what is the need of 1986 National Policy of Education? Now the options are A. Removal of wastage and stagnation in education, B. Enhancement of percentage of literacy, C. Implementation of free and compulsory education, or it's D. All the above. So these are the options, students. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer is option D, that is all the above. Now the sixth one, the educational policy 1986 was divided into dash parts. In how many parts we have divided the national educational policy 1986? Now the options are A 12, B 15, C 16, or it's D 11. So the correct answer is option A, that is 12. So we can say the National Education Policy 1986 was divided into 12 parts. Now the seventh one, silent feature of NPE 86 Common Educational Structure dash. Options are 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure, whether it is focusing on that. B 10 plus 3 plus 3 structure. C 10 plus 1 plus 3 structure, or it's D 10 plus 2 plus 2 structure. So these are the options, students. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be, yes, the correct answer will be option A, that is 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure. Now the eighth one, Navodaya Vidyalayas, Kendriya Vidyalayas and use of IT in education were started under which act? Now the options are A 1986, B 1968, C 1966, or it's D 1961. So these are the options, students. Now you have to select the correct answer from the basis of the given choices. Now the correct answer will be, yes, the correct answer will be option A, that is 1986. Now the ninth one, the NPE 1986 policy covers elementary education to colleges in both dash and urban India. Now the policy covers elementary education to colleges in which areas? The options are A rural, B city, C park, or D all the above. So students, these are the options. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be, yes, the correct answer will be option A, that is rural. So we can say the NPE 1986 policy elementary education to colleges focus in both urban and rural India. Now the 10th one, need of NPE 1986 was removal of stagnation and wastage in dash. Now the options are A education, B learning, C teacher, or it's D student. So students, these are the options A, B, C, D. Now you have to select the correct answer on the basis of the given choices, and the correct answer will be, yes, the correct answer will be option A, that is education. So we can say need of national education policy of education 1986 was removal of wastage and stagnation in education. Thank you, students. With this particular narration, you have understood National Policy of Education 1986, how it was formulated, what its goals, what is the purpose of formulating, need of formulating this particular policy, what are its merits, and what are its limitations, or we can say the limitations of this policy. Thank you, students. Thank you so much for your patience listening.